I started doubling down on my strengths, which was obviously fitness and social media, and that's when you see progress.
The answer to Tomas there, he probably wants.
Showing people what I was eating and the way I was training.
You could see the fans behind the goal going absolutely crazy. And
what the Gary Vee say, hustle until the people are mocking you asking for a job.
Welcome back to season 2 of the Frankly Nuts podcast.
With your hosts Joe Loftus and Kevin McCarthy.
Our podcast looks to delve deeper into the minds of those who have a story to tell.
We hope to bring you long-form, open and honest conversation.
We've always said that each guest brings something different to the table.
We strive to bring you content that may give you that little nugget of information you never heard before. Maybe it gives you that push to start that project you've been putting off for a while, or maybe it just gives you a laugh.
Before we start the pod, if you're listening on audio, we just want to ask if you could subscribe or leave a review.
If you're watching on YouTube, we'd ask that you hit the subscribe button or maybe hit the bell. You'll get a notification when our next podcast is up. That would be sweet.
We're here with Alan Bennett. Alan, how are you getting on?
Great. Good to be here, lads. Welcome back.
great to have you, Alan. Thanks for sitting down with us today.
No problem.
On Cork's #1 podcast.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Jeez, yeah. So I suppose, Alan, first, is this a regular for you being on a podcast, or is it something kind of out of the ordinary?
It would be out of the ordinary to some extent. I would do maybe a couple, three or four seasons maybe, but this is the first one sat down face to face.
Cork City, have you well media trained anyway, I'm sure?
Over the years,
Yeah. We'll dig into that anyway.
Yeah.
I suppose we'll kind of get straight into it. I suppose we kind of put it out there, asking people to send in questions. I must say now they sent in loads, and we probably sat down ourselves and wanted to kind of discuss quite a lot of things with you. We would have had Kevin O'Connor and Sean Maguire on last year from Cork City. But I suppose we wanted to kind of sit down with you and kind of get a base of what it was like playing in England, what's it like being back with Cork City, and the kind of differences and stuff, and there's much more to touch on. So, Joe, do you want to kick it off there with one of your questions?
Well, I suppose first of all, congratulations on being named club captain for the year ahead. You've been captain, I see, at many clubs before and stuff. Like, is this something that comes naturally, do you think?
I suppose I never really thought about it, how it comes, but I suppose I'm a consistent person, consistent personality. So I think that's what maybe managers look for when they're looking for a captain, that nothing will kind of affect you from the outside. So I think that's what kind of they look at when they pick me. Maybe you'd probably have to ask the managers, but I like to just think like consistency and in how I perform and behave and the values I have, and that kind of leads then to maybe choosing for that. But I think over the years it's kind of gotten more attention than it should. The whole captaincy role, for some reason. There's club captains now, there's team captains, and there's like a leadership group which a lot of managers put together to run their dressing room. So it's just repackaging a lot of the same old things that are always there, just lads who are strong on good behaviours and strong on good values.
And I suppose these days there is a lot of leaders in dressing rooms, like, isn't there? Like,
no shadow of a doubt.
You probably have 5 or 6 captains in every good squad, like in every team, like
100%. And it's changing, it's changing. Like, you see more lads, like, let's say now, like, they're strong in performances, but they mightn't be huge vocal characters. They could be strong vocal wise, big talkers in the WhatsApp group, big talkers on social media maybe, loud in the dressing room, storytellers, and you can mix them all in together, and then you probably have, of the senior lads, you'd have 1 or 2 or 3 of that category, then you'd have a middle group and you have 1 or 2 or 3 there, then you have the young lads. You can see the personalities forming already in those groups, and they're kind of your leaders then really between the 3 age groups.
Very good.
And do you think, like, would age play a factor or anything in becoming a captain? Or, do you know, like, I see in England a lot now, captains are becoming a lot younger. Like, it doesn't they don't merit it on experience anymore. I suppose it's just all about the qualities you have.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, you're spot on. I don't think age comes into it as much. You are probably saying to someone that you admire the way they work and you admire the values they have, how they behave, and the influence they have in the group, and the influence you want them to have in the group, I suppose. That's what the manager's kind of saying. But age and position, even, I think all those kind of things are just being chucked out now. Normally it was either a centre half or a centre midfielder, or now it can be a goalkeeper, a winger, centre forward, whoever, like whatever player. It's all about the personality.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I suppose you've had a career at this stage that's probably spanned over, nearly 20 years maybe in adult soccer. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah. Probably signed my first youth contract in 2000 with Cork City.
Yeah.
So.
And you had a team then, probably was a captain by Damien Delaney, I think?
Yeah. Damien was captain, good team. Joe Gamble was there as well.
Not a good player, yeah.
Great lads.
George O'Callaghan,
George would have been older. Like any soccer player you talk to is always can literally recite their youth team or their underage team, person by person. Like he was the year ahead of me, he was 2 years ahead of me, he was in my year, and after that it kind of gets a bit hazy, do you know what I mean? But like me, Joe, Damien, I could go through the team, like there was lads, and they're everywhere now all around Cork. I see them every so often, and it's great. Like you just know, like we were in the youth team together. It's quite nice,
Yeah, and I suppose that's where like I would have fell in love with Cork City when I was younger. I can remember walking down to the games, and it would be to see the likes of you, to see John O'Flynn, Kevin Doyle, Joe Gamble, Mick Devine, Neil Horgan, and they were almost classed as superstars in the city. Like, do you think it's still the same to this day, or has it changed slightly?
I think you've changed slightly. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I think there's probably a 13-year-old Kevin McCarthy out there who thinks that like Liam Nash is a superstar now. He's come into our group. He's centre forward. Do you know what I mean? Or thinks Gary Buckley's a superstar. Garrod Morrissey. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely,
Like, and they're spot on. Do you know? Because that for me is the most important thing about local soccer. That it's right in front of your eyes. Do you know what I mean? You can see John O'Flynn celebrating his goal. You can nearly touch him. You know what I mean? He's not a TV star. He's not somebody on Monday Night Football. He's right there in front of you, and you can see George O'Callaghan picking out a great pass, or throwing a little tantrum, whatever he does. So, like, that is the most important thing for local soccer for me. But I still think that's there. I still think that's there, and I think like Shawnee would have been
huge,
superstar. Like there was kids waiting hours for him after games, like, and we'd all walk out and Shawnee there, and I used to love it. Shawnee's coming there, Shawnee's coming there. Like, so you just keep going,
pawn it off on him, like
you get to go home, and have your pizza or whatever, and he's like there for 2 hours signing. And like we said it from day one, like you can come down here and spend €15 and see Shawnee Maguire, or you can wait a couple of seasons and have to spend £90 or £60 or plus flights. Do you know what I mean, to go see Shawnee Maguire? Like, and that, I suppose, is kind of the biggest attraction for me for local football, that you get those gems that are right there on your doorstep.
And I suppose we did mention you have spent nearly 17 years in adult football now. Don't want to reiterate it, but
making him feel old.
At least you brought from 19 to 17.
So like you would have done a stint in the League of Ireland before going over to England, and you've come back since to do another stint in the League of Ireland. Is there much of a contrast you find between the League of Ireland back then and the state of the league now?
Yeah, good question, and I get asked it a few times, and I'm struggling really to answer the question, because you just can't compare in some states, you know what I mean? But
I suppose the world has changed so much as well at the same time, like, you know?
Exactly. And I suppose if you sat down and looked at stats in cold and hard, and it was more even playing pitch, there was more teams of a nature who could win a league, maybe. You know, you had a very strong Dublin contingent. But going to Dublin, getting 3 points was massive. Now the Dublin clubs are coming again, absolutely. Bows, Rovers, Pats this season, but for the last 3 or 4 it's been Cork and Dundalk. So like back then Dundalk weren't even on the radar. Now they're the team that everyone wants to catch, you know what I'm saying? So I suppose there's more of an emphasis on Irish players, which I think is quite good. Because back then there would have been a sprinkling of English players. Sprinkling, which was good in its way. But I like the fact that you can home grow Gary Buckley now, Garrod Morrissey, these type of players, you know what I mean? Whereas they would have been before, I suppose you would have gone to England maybe to look for that kind of style of player. Whereas you would have had your kickers, I suppose, and players like me and Decky Daly, Derek Holland, who would have been locals, you know what I mean? So I quite like that, and I think that's a testament to the underage coaching that's going on in Ireland at the moment.
And I just wanted to ask, like, without kind of sounding disrespectful to League of Ireland, was there a contrasting difference in like how training was done within the League of Ireland to going over to England? Was it almost like a big step up, or was it seamless, kind of just it was what you were used to?
It was, well, I suppose when I left, in like my managers in Cork City would have been Liam Murphy, Pat Dolan, Damon Richardson. They're my senior managers. Pat was like streets ahead in terms of how the club ran on your day to day, and that was very similar to England. Very similar, because Pat's brother Eamon God rest him, would have been in Reading's academy, and they would have very strong links there with Reading, Cork and Reading. Obviously with Kevin Doyle, Shane Long, and then that just kind of made it public. But Pat would have ran the club like an English club, you know. So when I went over to England, the actual day-to-day setups of how you went about your day was quite similar.
Yeah.
But the quality was just like
different. Like
different. Like just seeing stuff on a day-to-day, honestly blew my mind. Like it was just incredible to see. And that Reading team, I suppose, when in 2007, so that they would have been in the 7-8 season in England. Yeah, 7 or maybe 6-7 or 7-8, whatever season it was. I think I left January 7. Yeah, so it would have been 7-8 were phenomenal. Like, and they finished just outside Europe.
Right. Yeah.
So that group was
a very talented group. Like,
was that the Kevin Doyle, Stephen Hunt, Shane Long era? Like,
you can name them. Shorey, Nicky Shorey, Steve Sidwell, James Harper, Marcus Hanneman was in goal, Sonko, Ivar Ingemarson, centre back. You know what I mean? Like very multicultural.
Yeah.
And to see what they were doing every day, like in training, kind of blew my mind a bit. Like, you know, so that I feel lucky having to see that and being. Because it's all well and good you're looking at the TV, but when you're actually trying to catch a guy or trying to outfox a guy or trying
it's a lot tougher.
Man, you know what I mean? You realise, and it can whack you. Like, and like sometimes you felt like a bit of an imposter, and you read about people who have imposter syndrome. You know, that was me. There was days like that I felt I should not be anywhere near this.
Yeah,
and that was also a lesson for me because they were bulletproof, like these guys upstairs. Bulletproof.
Yeah.
To criticism, whether it was through ignorance, through arrogance, through whatever, bulletproof.
Yeah.
Nothing got in their head. Nothing like moved them away from where they were heading in their own minds, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a massive lesson for me as well. No room for self-doubt. No room for moping or not negativity, because there was still negativity, but just no room for draining.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like you would just be told to get out of my sight. I don't want to talk to you like this. You're not in my headspace. I don't want to hear this. Like So you're either so that in that way it was a big lesson too.
Yeah.
And I feel privileged to have gotten to that point and to look, looked in the window at that,
Yeah, to experience at least, like it's huge. Yeah.
Exactly.
Not many people get to do it, I suppose. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
And what age were you when you went to Reading?
I would have been 22, going on 23. Yeah. So I think at that age, I suppose I was like I can speak now about it.
Yeah.
But maybe if I was 16 or 17, maybe I wouldn't have been as aware to take that in. You know.
Okay.
Which can be good in the sense that maybe you're innocent and young and just carry on with things. And not have your maybe doubts, but can be bad in a way that maybe it can just destroy you as well.
Yeah.
So I get asked a lot, would you send over your kid at 16? I wouldn't.
No.
Would I send over my young fella who's 22? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. I was just kind of digesting all that there, sorry.
Right.
But like that's the next question I was going to ask you, like about kids going over, like you see. And I suppose like you look at it, like there was a lot of footballers, like Shawnee went over quite young and he was with West Ham and it didn't work out. And then they come back and they just hit the ground running and they get that second opportunity then as they get older. And I suppose then that second opportunity is where they can grab the chance because I suppose I know they've been through it, but they're a lot older and they can kind of process a lot more now that they're a bit mature, they're a bit more kind of wits about them.
Absolutely.
And like I suppose like credit to you, I suppose you kind of took it all in. And where did you go then from Reading? What was the next kind of
the next step? Well, during that Reading kind of period, I was loaned out to Southampton, so I went out and so your kind of question was in two parts there. Yeah. So the first part, I totally agree with you in what you're saying. And that's actually a model that some English clubs are looking at now for some players who have been over, been through it, gone back, come back again.
Yeah.
So that's like a profile of player that a lot of English clubs are looking at now.
Yeah.
Rather than going straight at 16 because they realise that the attrition rates are way too high and for an Irish player to come over and they're away from home and it doesn't work. So that's for anybody who's back now and restarting or whatever, don't think that the door is closed, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think you're in a stronger position than you ever were.
Yeah.
In one sense, but you still got to prove yourself here.
Yeah.
on the Reading thing, then I got loaned out to Southampton, which was an incredible experience down there. They were in the Championship at the time.
And it's a big club as well. Like Southampton's a big club. Yeah.
In their history, it was kind of a time where they were imploding in the background. So the club was in the Championship, just got relegated. Like huge wage bill, disruption in the background. You saw a lot of staff leaving when I was there in the background, and the club was heading towards, as I said, imploding, because then it dropped another level and went down to League One. Rebuilt, obviously, and now it's back to a very strong position. But at the time, George Burley was the manager, and he was kind of firefighting, and it was a kind of a crazy experience, but one I really enjoyed. Like, I really loved it there. It was, I suppose, if you gave me a grade for it, which you're always being graded over there, my debut was horrendous. Lost 4-1. My man got a hat-trick, and from there I was really fighting a battle, because even though I'd only got there on the Tuesday maybe, and already made my debut on the Saturday. No one cares about that. That 90 minutes, we lost to Crystal Palace. From there then on the Tuesday, so when you start the league in England, you play Saturday, Tuesday, and that middle game is a League Cup game, and we played against Peterborough, lost that game. So then I was out of the team, gone 2 games, turfed out, and struggled for about a month after that, month and a half maybe, and then I was lucky enough to get another opportunity because a few injuries came along. So I was put back in, but I remember at the time the manager was really thinking about an 18-year-old who he got out of the youth team, or me. That's kind of where I was in the order of things, which can happen like that over there, and that's the way it is.
They're kind of ruthless, like, aren't they, in a sense? Like, they just
ruthless.
I think that's the one glaring thing through everything you said so far about over in England, like, isn't it? Do you know, professional sport is just like cut and dry, like
cut and dry,
like
not personal. You're a number.
Your ability and what you can do for the club, and
exactly.
That's it.
And then you're moved along if you don't. You're sat there in the dressing room, and this guy's coming in. Hello, what's your name? My name's Alan. What's your name? John. Where do you play centre back? Great, I play centre back as well. So he's playing Saturday. Do you know what I mean? You're out of the team, there's loads of that going on, and I got back in the team, but I started to play, and just when I was up and running, my loan ended at Christmas time, and then I went back to Reading, and it was for me, looking back, it was probably a bit of a sliding doors moment, you know, if buts and maybes, but
there's nothing you can, like,
that's
can't
life,
change it now, like,
you end up in football, you end up finding your level anyway. I'm 100% believer of that. Like, for your ability, and then my level was League 1, League 2. That's where I ended up. That's where I played. I suppose I probably played maybe 200 odd games, 250 games maybe in the UK, and all of them were League 1, League 2. So that's where I was, and that's where you end up. Like, you end up playing at the level that you're supposed to play at, really.
And the way you say, you know, it's bringing it back a bit now, but the way the club was like kind of falling down behind doors and stuff, like, and on the back end, are you very aware of that as a player in the club at that time, or is it kind of like almost compartmentalised, like, from what's going on the pitch with players and management, like?
Yeah, good question. You are made aware. You are made aware.
And does it have an impact on like performance and stuff, do you think? It has to, like, I suppose.
I suppose you could have seen it with Sunderland last year.
Did you watch that documentary?
I did. Found it very interesting. Very interesting. I think it can affect performances in a way that some players will look for anything for a crutch.
Right.
Any reason for a crutch, and that's what really good managers do, and really good managers do consistently. They remove those crutches, so you're just left there. You perform. If you're not performing, it's your fault. Something you're doing, something you need to work on, as opposed to if you know what's gone on in the background. The club is cutting, you know, coaches. The club is cutting travel expenses. Do you know what I'm saying? So then they become crutches. Then they become excuses. All right, the bus wasn't as good as last week's bus. The bus is, you know, there's no indication, but a player will grasp that if he's having a bad day. Do you know what I mean? You know, the toast wasn't on the bus or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, little things like that, they will jump on those. So and also, like, dressing rooms are like fucking conventions for old people. Like, they're just natter, and everyone's just chatting inside there. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, there's just constantly chit chatting. because you spend a lot of downtime with each other, you do end up kind of just gossiping and talking about what's going on in the background. So it becomes filtered into the psyche.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're made aware, and yes, it can affect forms if players use it as a crutch. Like.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably to answer your question.
Yeah.
And like, do you know that you were talking about? Obviously, you said the Reading, you moved on to Southampton, and then Southampton were imploding. Do you know, going through that at such a young age, and like you were saying, after 2 games, you were just told, yeah, that's you done. Like, were you ever just thinking, look, I just want to come home, Cork City, I can just, you know, I'll play there, I love it, it's my hometown club. Did that ever come into your mind to kind of just take the plane right home, really?
Yeah, you get those days, yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Because like, it must be you're away from your family, do you know.
But you're probably still early enough in your time over there and stuff, like, and you probably still have full belief in your ability then at that stage over there, like, and
exactly,
and you have a contract as well.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Yeah. But it's more fluid now. Like, as you said, like Kevin O'Connor's like back in Cork now. He's refinding his feet, and it's about where you land, I suppose, and where you can find your feet, and what you need as a manager who will give you more than 2 games.
Yeah.
You know, give you more than 2 bad games, and that's hard for him then in one sense because he's under pressure to get results. But I suppose I found that manager at Brentford who gave me that time, and that's where I went on the second half of that season. The first half of that season was in Southampton. The second half was a month in Brentford, and that's where he kind of just let me play. Yeah, and
he kind of almost entrust, like he gave you a bit of trust, belief, and
exactly. And just, you know, I thought, like, I'm not actually, you know, when your confidence dips so low, you get to doubt everything. And that's life, man. That's insecurities flare up, and they come out of you, and they can manifest in all sorts of different ways, in all sorts of different things. You know what I mean? You find yourself fucking eating 6 packets of biscuits or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Or like you're looking down, like, did I eat all them?
We all got through that.
Do you know what I mean? Or you know, that 2 bags of chips or something stupid or whatever. Or you 20 pints or whatever your vice is. Let's say, you know, like, and that's what I think your insecurities are coming out then through that. Like, and look, I'm not going to say that I'm fucking immune to these. Of course I'm not, and no one is. And I suppose I was just a bit older and able to process them a bit more. And you have a great family, do you know what I mean? You have good people who just are on the end of the phone, and they just tell you to stick at it, and then just reignite in what was in you to get you to that place, I suppose, in the first place. And they keep that kind of fire burning, and then, as I said, then I got an opportunity from a manager who kind of gave me that, and that kind of really started my career. Like, if you ask me now what results I look at when I look at live score on Saturday afternoon, Brentford, Wimbledon and Cheltenham. Like, they're the 3 places that I check, because they were the 3 places that I felt I had an impact at. Do you know? Like, rightly or wrongly, I suppose Reading took me over. Reading gave me the opportunity, but I never felt like I was making an impact there. So
can I ask, do you know, when you come back, so like you go on loan to Southampton and you come back, is it a case of like, would you be coming back saying like, I'm going to fucking make an impact in Reading and try and get back in the Reading team, or is it a case of, do you know, these gang maybe don't want me and I'm, you know, looking for the next opportunity to go to another club like you did with Brentford after, like, or what's the psyche, I suppose, of the player heading back from a loan period, like?
Yeah, do you dread it? Do you kind of just think, fuck it, I'm going back here now and I'm not going to want it, or?
Yeah, it's a mad world. Like, I can't describe how mad it is to somebody who hasn't been through it.
That's why I'm just so fascinated by it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And have you ever seen there's a show NFL Hard Knocks? Right? And have you, within that, have you ever seen it?
No.
Like, so for their pre-season or whatever, they'll have a practice squad of maybe 95 players, and for the season end they have to cut down to like 53 players or something like that. And it's literally like, come the end of maybe the 12 weeks they've done their training, like, you're called in, like, you know, we're kind of done with you now, like, you know, thanks very much, you get paid for your pre-season, off you go, and that's it. Like, it's just so cut and dry. And I think it just really gives a good insight into it. And then those players, like, you know, the season starting, they've no team or whatever, like, no, they're well paid for their it'll be a fine yearly wage, like, to practice, but it just really gives an insight into the professional sports world and the cut and trust of it, like,
absolutely. Like, and you mentioned that Sunderland documentary earlier. Brilliant. I thought that was so well done.
Yeah, very well.
And the key for me with that was the camera they put in the physio room. Like, that gave you, because that is like, it's like the confession box. Like the physio is like the mother of the training ground. You go in there, you give out, you mope, you sulk, and he's like, most of them are like pretty much part-time counsellors, like, do you know what I mean? They're like, it's okay, don't, and they're like, oh, I'm not sure, and then they're having doubts about their body, and they're having doubts about mentally, and he has to rebuild all those, like, put the player back together, pretty much to send them out. And that documentary was really good, because that was like, I suppose, a blueprint of clubs who were in carnage, like, across the 4 leagues in England, and clubs who were in possibly decline or restarting, and that gave it a really good, clear, honest picture.
What I kind of liked about it was, because you had the Man City documentary come out a couple of months before it that showed like the highs of football and all the money and how everything goes right, and then you can just see how wrong it can go very quickly. Like, and even in the Sunderland documentary, like, remember transfer deadline day, and it, like, and they're just trying to rushing to get any sort of deal done just to get players in, like, and it's, these players don't even know what's happening, like, they just get a call 5 minutes before the window closes, you're shipped up to Sunderland, and you're going into an environment where the fans aren't even happy with the club, and like, how as a player do you even adjust to that, like, knowing in your head, okay, I'm going to get game time, but the fans aren't on my side here at all, like,
it's mad, it's a mad world, like, and like, I suppose the English player got a very bad rap out of it, the Jack
Rodwell.
Oh, he came across so badly in it,
came out really badly, but like, there's players like that across the UK, and that's probably at some stage in my time in Reading, I was probably like that, just like he's obviously in a very strong position with his contract, so that's a major thing. I wasn't like that, but in terms of how disengaged and disillusioned, I suppose, he is, and that, I suppose, to answer your question, to touch back on when I came back from Southampton to Reading, that was probably me, like, I trained hard, of course, and there was never an issue, and you go in and you work really hard, and but you feel disconnected from it, like, and you feel slightly disillusioned with where you're going, and there would have been like, there's nicknames for those group of people across it, like the Bomb Squad, the Rezzies, the Joeys, whatever, you know what I mean, like the lads who were just slightly outside the bubble of core players who are playing every week, and they have to be there because of injuries, because of whatever, they have to be there, but it's the absolute magic, man, of a manager who keeps all those people happy. Magic, man, like, how they do it, how the top fellas do it. Like Steve Coppell's approach, who would have been the Reading manager at the time, was brutal honesty, like brutal honesty. He would have told you, when I came back from Southampton there now, you're not going to play. You won't be involved. We appreciate you working hard. And then he would have been, he wasn't a hands-on manager. Like, I've had managers who run every single capacity. I'm not saying he didn't do anything. I'm saying in the training, we would have been on a pitch training, and he would have been 2 pitches over watching training. You look again, he's a pitch over on the other side watching training. You look again, he's up on the mounted camera angle looking at training. He'd come in, he'd speak for a minute in that training session, he wouldn't speak again.
So all coaches, so like individual
coaches ran everything, like, really good coaches. Nigel Gibbs was really good. He was an exceptional coach, and he, like, my game was probably the best it was at because of coaches like him and the individual attention he was able to give my game and being around what I was around. But then on the flip side, I probably wasn't playing, so, but then Brentford would have profited from that, like, when I went to Brentford and had a good 2 seasons with them. But that's how Steve Coppell ran it, and I've had various approaches from various managers, like John now, for instance, at Cork, would be in everything. Like, he's in their coaching, he's in meetings, he's in, he's, from 1 minute he's probably talking how much we're spending on sandwiches to how much we want to spend on a new striker we're getting in. That's John, like, he runs everything, and
very hands-on, like,
and I suppose he feels he has to be number one, and that's probably his personality, number two. And then I've had just in between lads, managers who maybe just take the Thursday sessions, Friday sessions for the Saturday, wouldn't get involved in the Monday and Tuesday, to you know, everything in between those two, I suppose.
And would you feel like, you know, you were saying Steve would watch the sessions from afar, like, do you feel there's almost a disconnect then from the players and the manager if he's not very hands-on? Like, you know, sometimes you heard a manager might have lost the dressing room or they're not playing from, would that factor into it then, or?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think consistency of behaviour is the key, like.
Yeah.
So Steve Coppell, when Reading were just outside Europe, wouldn't, let's say they had an unbelievable result against Liverpool or Man United or Chelsea, he wouldn't have been in the dressing room high-fiving everyone. You know what I mean? He wouldn't have been on the training ground Monday morning taking the five-a-sides, Tuesday having breakfast with all the lads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was the exact same if they'd just drawn with Man United or if they just got tanked by Chelsea or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think consistency of behaviours was the key. In terms of losing the dressing room, what I suppose I'm fortunate enough to have never really seen that, you know, never really been a part of that. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talk now that Chelsea, that Sarri has lost the dressing room, but they seem to have recovered it now that they're back in form. Or like you almost saw him walk out of the pitch there in the Carling Cup final, like it would have been the greatest scene ever if he'd walked away from the club. But
kept going,
but like, you know, you hear all these rumours, and I've just wondered, is it actually, do the players actually turn on the manager, or?
I think it's a lazy comment.
Yeah.
If I'm being brutal, I think it's a lazy synopsis. Like, if I'm being honest, I think it's probably a throwaway term that's just been spiced up and people keep rehashing in the media. Like, it's because
surely there's an element of respect you have to pay to the club. You know, they're paying your wages. They're kind of looking after you.
Absolutely.
How can you turn around and just not play for a manager? Like,
absolutely. And I think like all the best managers I've ever had were inspirational in terms of they weren't massively motivating talks like any given Sunday every weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like, like giving that big speech. They were inspiring you in the sense that I'll make you a better player. And look, follow me down this road, and you'll be a better player. Do you know? So like, whatever way they did that was their way of doing things. But so I do honestly believe that there is players in Chelsea who still feel that Sarri will bring that to their game. Do you know what I mean? So I think that statement of losing the dressing room is kind of just lazy, really.
Yeah, they just kind of do it just to kind of vent up the media and just kind of get stories out of it. Like,
I think so, yeah.
And to bring it back to your own timeline then, you went on to Brentford. Was that the first kind of place you would have, I suppose, like almost found a proper home, playing football over there and stuff like? You went on to become captain, am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
You done your research?
I was Wikipedia there the whole timeline, like.
Between that now and his age.
Yeah, my buddy actually goes on and regularly edits my Wikipedia for bad. Good. So if you come across an odd story in there, it's definitely my pal who's done that. It was the first place that I felt like I was having an impact on the team, you know, and having an impact and playing. And it was a great place. It was like, it's this hard West London working class club wedged between Chelsea, Fulham, Arsenal, Spurs, I suppose, as you head around London. You know? And I was fortunate enough at the time, I suppose, that a new owner had just taken over, a guy called Matthew Benham. And if you ever get the time, Google this guy. This guy's a genius. Like, he runs I could be wrong on this now, matchbook.com maybe, but he definitely started out in gambling, a company.
Was it? Is he the fella? Was it all based off like statistical performance and stuff of players?
Yeah, like the club. He would model. Like, he was so forward thinking.
There's like a movie, Moneyball, on the Oakland days, and is it the same guy or like?
Was
he involved in that?
No, it's not the same guy, but
same model. Like,
same model, yeah. Same approach to things.
Yes,
because he would come from a world of statistics, making money from and gambling. Do you know If you base it a certain way, put in a certain model, you'll make this money off certain people who'll do certain things. So he went the exact same way with football, like,
very good.
And he put together the squad, and like at the start, he owns a club as well in Norway, and he runs it. I could be wrong on information, excuse me if I am, but he's got another club, and he runs the same thing, similar there. And since like my time at the club, they were starting. Probably after I left, but they scrapped their academy. So they now run the team as a first team and a B team, which no other club in England does, because they were producing players from in their young academy, and then up to 6th, you know, between 12 and 19, and those players were just being picked off by Chelsea, Spurs, you know, all the catchment area they're in.
Yeah.
So he just saw it as a money losing operation. So scrap that, put in a B team. So they had to pull out of the EPPP, which is a system in place in the UK for academies.
Okay.
So if you went and spoke to any academy director in the UK and you mentioned EPPP, they'll probably go green, because it's paperwork, stacks and stacks of box ticking, roles they need to fill, time consuming really. So they scrapped that and they put together a B team, but they had to form their own fixtures and make their own fixtures and really run it. But it's paying fruition now, is the point I'm trying to make, because Brentford are a club now who are in the Championship, rock bottom in terms of budget, but consistently touching playoffs in a league where you see Sunderland getting it so wrong, where you see clubs who are coming out with massive budgets, Villa.
Sure, Stoke are struggling this year in the Championship.
Exactly. So they have this watertight model where they run and compete and produce players, and that's the club now. And when I was there, it was starting and forming and building, and I'm kind of proud to say that I was kind of there at the very start. Like League Two, we won League Two, went into League One, and the club moved up towards then, and it was great to see, because it was as opposed to Southampton, which was imploding, this was growing, you know. And that was really nice.
And what was that experience like, lifting the League Two trophy?
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Like there was a guy came over from West London 2 weeks ago to interview me from Brentford, and it's been 10 years since it happened. Which is nuts, but he showed
Still
me
playing.
He showed me a picture of me and him, and he'd, like, you know what I mean, brace his spots, the whole lot. There's me beside him with, I don't know what was going on with my hair now at the time. Probably worse now anyway, but like, the kits were all massive, do you know what I mean? When you look at,
it's all tight fit now these
days.
Do you know
what I'm saying? Like when you look back and like, and you think, what is he wearing? Like, what's John Barnes doing wearing that their jersey? You know what I mean? It looks terrible. And you know what I mean? And then you look back at yourself and you're just thinking, what was I doing? You know, you just get caught up. And he came over and interviewed me, and it was great to talk, because like he had the whole season and he was able to remind me about what results we got and all the rest.
Brought it all back.
He brought it all back, and it was a nice walk down memory lane. Because I head footballs for a living, so I don't really remember much what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So like he was, it was great, and it meant so much to their club and to the fans at the time, and it was really cool, you know.
That's the job.
And would they have a strong Irish contingent in Brentford? Because I know John Egan played for him for a while. And is it Chidozie?
Bennett,
he's over there now.
Chidozie's there now in the squad. John Egan's moved on
to Sheffield.
They would, in the sense, not historically, I suppose. Not historically, like there would be stronger Irish clubs over there, you know. But the area, there was quite a strong Irish contingent, you know. Like Ruislip isn't far from Brentford, and Ruislip is the home of London GA, you know, and a very strong Irish contingent there. And look, you could chuck a stone in London, you're going to hit somebody from Ireland. Like, and so what generation they are is obviously whatever, do you know what I mean? So there would have been a strong Irish link to the area, and I felt that when I was there, and I would have met loads of people who would have been either second generation Irish, or like there's a guy there now on the staff, a guy called Kevin O'Connor, who would have been his dad and mother would have been Irish. Like his mother was from Achill, I believe, and his dad was from Mayo, do you know what I mean? So he would have had a strong Irish link, and he's still there now, and he's like Mr. Brentford, he's the man, so he would always had that as well. I'm surprised there's not more, to be honest. More Irish players probably move through it, because it's such a catchment, you know. I mean, when like they would pick up a lot of Spurs players who fall out, or Chelsea players, but then maybe that's a reflection of Irish people going across England anyway. We're probably not in those clubs anymore. We're probably not. Like, who's the top Irish player playing in the Premier League?
Was Declan Rice, but now he's gone.
He's the main fellow kid, right?
He's still there. Burnley, probably one.
Robbie Brady, Jeff Hendrick.
Probably in Burnley squad. What are they? They're bottom half Premier League. Anything higher than that?
Jeez, I can't even think now. Shane Long maybe at Southampton, but again they're kind of bottom of the Premier League.
Do you know,
That's it then, really.
It's a
like,
shifting time, I suppose, you know, like, gone are the days when you've 3 or 4 Liverpool players.
Yeah, so you would have had Robbie Keane at the top of his game, at the top, like with Spurs in Ireland.
Or gone are the days you have 2 Cork lads in the United teams, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll probably never see that again.
Yeah.
No.
We probably won't. And
it's a shame, really, like, isn't it?
It is. It is a shame. And but you know what, like, when I was even at Reading, they were recruiting from all over the world, like, so that's just, it's a global game now, like, and you have lads coming from Africa, you've Australian lads, you've come from Asia now, everyone wants to play in the Premier League, so gone are the days where you see a Man United scout blowing Cove, picking out Roy Keane, do you know what I mean? It just won't happen. I'm sure they're watching the games, they definitely are, but those days are gone. But on the flip side, I'm involved in coaching Ireland. We have to create another pathway, like, to get players through, because it's dried up. We saw Mick McCarthy's squad now. He took a lad from Newport.
Patrick Hammond.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Newport, League Two.
Yeah.
I would have played against him 4 or 5 years ago. I suppose when did I leave? 2015. He would have been in the lower leagues then. Mention of an Irish cap was laughable then. Do you know? So that's where our shifting nation is now, and we've got to get our act together. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think there's scope for more players from the League of Ireland to be called up to the national squad?
Yeah, I think so.
While still playing in League of Ireland, like,
I think so. I think it's needs must now. I think it's a necessity. Like, I think it's as always the stamp for an Irish player. I hope the magic plane is going, but I hope it'll become the magic plane is like Sean Maguire playing 1 week against Dundalk, leaving on a plane, playing next week against Preston and getting called up, like, do you know? So that's the kind of magic plane. That's what a lot of League of Ireland players call it. So the stamp now, I think, and I hope for Irish players, will be Europe. So you play in the Europa League, Champions League, you do well, you're a consistent performer, then I think you're good enough to play in the national team. Do you know? Because in one sense I understand how Irish players aren't getting that stamp of approval to go into the national team, because our league is so diverse is probably the wrong word, but
there's contrasting differences almost between
massive between Dundalk, Cork, Rovers, Pats to
your your Prestons and your
between the Dock Rovers, Pats,
and your lower,
your Cove, your Canada, do you know what I mean?
Like
UCD. I'm not being disrespectful to these teams, absolutely not. I'm saying that because I hear it all the time when scouts come over to Ireland and they watch Cork versus Drogheda, you know what I mean? They can't pronounce half the places, or Sligo Rovers, and they're like, I'm not sure about this lad, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking, fair enough, come see him against Warsaw, or come see him against Rosenborg, come see him against whoever we play in Europe, then make your call. Because it's so hard to get a good feel for an Irish player. And what they're capable of when you're watching League of Ireland games.
And I think maybe under Mick McCarthy we might start to see it more, because since the League of Ireland has started, I've seen Robbie Keane on his Instagram. He's been to quite a lot of games now. Mick McCarthy and is it Terry Connor? Is that his? They're going to a lot more. So hopefully, like the players do get the chance to kind of showcase. Because do you think? I know I'm kind of going off the cuff here. But will they ever kind of bring in a rule whereas, like, do you know, in the IRFU, if you kind of leave Ireland and go play abroad, you can't play with the...
It's kind of unspoken, I suppose.
The unspoken rule, like. But do you think maybe one day we'll see where, like, there have to be a rule where you have to have a certain amount of maybe League of Irish players in a provisional squad at least to give them the chance to train with the Irish players?
Maybe,
would that be something they could implement? I don't know.
I think soccer's such a global game that you can't really put that restriction. Like, you can... And then, on the other sense... I'm not sure I'd like that as a League of Ireland player. I'm not sure I'd like that quota. Like, I'm not sure I'd like that kind of hand-me-down gesture. Maybe.
You feel like you might be just thrown in there as a token.
Come in, there's your bib.
You're filling in space,
and then when they name the squad, then you're all turfed out.
Exactly. Like, can you tick that box? You're going home. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure I'd like that. I think it's look, necessity is the mother of all invention in my mind. So I think the Irish FAI have realised that they need to produce homegrown players. How do you produce homegrown players? You put in academies in Ireland, you up the level of the domestic league, and then you hopefully produce players. So that necessity will hopefully force them to invent or create that environment. And look, maybe we'll do another podcast in 10 years' time when I'm, do you know what I mean? A manager at another club talking about 2 or 3 lads who are playing at Cork and in the Irish team on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Mick McCarthy. I'd just like to ask you about the appointment recently and the fact that they've appointed him and Stephen Kenny is going to be taking over in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
What do you make of that kind of? It's a bit strange. Like it's kind of something new, isn't it? It's a bit.
It's new.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have seen it before. Like
I suppose the fact they kind of put a date in it for me was a bit like, do you know? Let's say they go to a big tournament with Mick, and it all goes well.
Yeah.
And then his time is up. It's kind of like, what's the? Do you know? Is there scope for him to stay on if he wants to stay on, and they want him to stay on, or is it Stephen's in then? Like, do you know? And that's that. Like, or
yeah.
You know, that just.
Yeah,
I just found it strange.
It's weird, right? Yeah.
It is a weird dynamic, I suppose. From the way I understand it, Stephen's in regardless.
Yeah.
You know, if Mick wins the Euros.
Yeah.
Good luck moving him on then. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think it was a move that, like, Stephen Kenny deserves the opportunity.
Yeah.
But maybe not ready for the first team job.
Yeah.
How they handle that conversation with Mick McCarthy, I wouldn't have wanted to have been in that room. Do you know what I mean? This is your contract. You're gone at the end of it, no matter what. But I think it was slightly a political move as well to keep the stakeholders who were involved in Irish football happy.
Yeah.
So, but it is something new, and it is a move that kept everyone happy, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well, because a lot of people were clamouring for Stephen Kenny to come in now, like, and I suppose by bringing in Mick McCarthy and saying, look, Stephen's coming, like, anyone who was clamouring for Stephen was like, all right, like, he will be there, like, you know, it's gonna,
exactly,
you're kind of kept happy, and then they're kept happy if they don't want them right now, like, or whatever as well. Yeah.
And I think the 21 needed a shake up.
Yeah.
I think the 21s for too long was kind of just ticking along. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that massively needed a shake up, and like, I love the work that Colin O'Brien's doing now with the under-17s. Like, obviously last year was the tournament that catapulted them. Remember the goalkeeper with the penalty?
That was shocking.
Jimmy Byrne, as it was the goalie.
Cochran, I think.
Cochran, sorry, yeah.
Catapulted them into the limelight, but that work has been going on for years, and that is a home-based tournament now that'll be on this summer in Ireland, and it'll probably pop into the public eye a lot more when it's on your doorstep, and there'll be a lot more coverage, etc. But the work that's been done by him, and I like to think that they're producing players that, like, will want to play for Ireland and will be Irish. Do you know what I mean? That'll just and that, like, we've talked about Declan Rice a couple of times, and that whole question, like, Ireland are guilty of that too. Like,
we can't be annoyed at him.
We take whoever. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know, if we have half chance, like.
So I think Mick McCarthy's looking at the lead striker now, Bamford, isn't he? Patrick Bamford.
Daniel Crowley, is he from Arsenal?
Or he was Arsenal. Yeah.
And sure, the Preston. What's the Preston guy's name? Is it?
Yeah. We're guilty of it anyway. Like,
exactly.
we'll take
whoever we can get, really.
Exactly, and that's the changing world of international football, I think. Do you know, and rightly or wrongly, I suppose deep down, it doesn't sit well with me, but it's a changing world in that. Do you know what I mean? We're across the board. There's so many different people from so many different generations living X, Y, and Z. How do you black and white something like that? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to do it now with Brexit. Do you know what I mean? They're trying to cut and dry and look at the fucking mess that's been made. Do you know what I mean? Like, how do we say that this is what we are when we're so clearly not that? Do you know what I mean? So it'll probably be something that might need some sort of ratification from UEFA and the governing bodies. But then, how do they do it? It's too hard, I think. Yeah.
It's a strange one, right? But I suppose you're the man to can ask as well, because you would have made appearances for Ireland. Would they have went down as the proudest moment of your career, or?
It's strange.
It's up there.
It is up there.
Yeah.
And it's probably strange for me to say that it's not the highlight of my career. It was fantastic and it was an incredible experience, but it was.
Like, how was it to, like, play for your country, like, in front of?
Hugely proud.
Yeah.
Hugely proud. I can't.
It's probably a feeling you can't even describe. Like, I'd imagine.
I can't put a level on how proud it is, but they were friendly games, and it was a friendly tournament.
Yeah.
Kind of not eats at it a bit, but doesn't. As a sports person, deep down,
the competitor
you want
side,
that.
You want it to mean something.
Do you want to get 3 points in a qualifying game, or you want to
exactly. You want it to have be like us doing a podcast here for half an hour, and then, do you know what I mean, not recording it. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it was great. We had a great chat, but it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or when you do live ones, maybe there's more on it.
There's more line in it. Like,
I get what you mean.
So.
Great way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, and I think people can kind of relate to that. I hope they can.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be disrespectful, but winning a league with Cork, 2 leagues with Cork, winning 2 cups with Cork, winning a cup with Brentford, they rate higher.
Yeah.
They do. Because it's everything as a sports person when you put in the graft for 8 or 9 months.
Yeah.
It's you, your buddies, challenges the whole way. Granted, it's not the highest level in the world, I get that, but the challenge is still the same. The barriers are still the same. The things you have to overcome are still the same. The doubt, the looking in each other's eyes, when you know you have to go and hurt yourself to get to a level, to get to somewhere. And the feeling of that, when you can just, you know, shake a guy's hand at the end. We did that, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd have that every single year over a couple of friendly games.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As wrong as that maybe sounds, but that's me.
No, I think
you could see it like from a competitor's mindset. Like, yeah, for sure.
And you mentioned the kind of titles that you've won throughout your career. Would the second FA Cup against Dundalk, would that kind of rank up there? Pretty Shawnee Maguire were you the last minute?
Yeah.
The Titanic music always rings out when you see it. Like I assume that's a proud moment.
Yeah, that was the first one. Sorry. Yeah. That was the second final. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
It was great. It was big, it was big. And do you know what? Like we went away for a week after that as a group because we were a tight group, really good. And we went to Vegas.
Oh, gee. There's a week away.
League of Ireland players. You know what I mean? Went to the credit union first, then went to Vegas. You know what I mean? So this isn't something that we do every year. Don't get me wrong. And we watched that goal having breakfast after a night out in one of those diners in America that you've probably the States. You're hungover, you've pancakes with that big,
and
maybe syrup and everything
and wrapped with the fear afterwards. You know what I mean? Because you've had a bit of a night, and that will stick in my head watching that, and just we're all just sat around like, fuck it, that was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Like it's those kind of moments that you kind of remember and share with people that you can't really, I suppose, like share with other people. In a sense, you know.
Yeah. And I can actually remember after that game, John Caulfield actually labelled you as Cork City, like one of Cork City's best ever centre backs and club legend, and to hear all those things, was it just like?
It's nice. You know, it's nice. I get embarrassed when I hear that. I don't sit comfortably. You know what I mean?
I don't think Irish people as a whole take compliments well. Like we all kind of just.
You're probably right. It's more of a discomfort. Just move along. But it's great. For sure.
But it's been a great rivalry for the last 4 or 5 years. Like and you know, to have those games in the Aviva, big crowds at them, and that it's on TV as well. Like they're the games you'd love to show the scouts. You know, if games like that were on week in, week out, you'd be saying Ireland squads all day for players, like, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the level playing field,
Yeah.
Sorry.
European nights, like over the last couple of years, what were those experiences like playing with Cork City? Would you have played in European nights back in the day?
Yeah,
you would have. Yeah. So we would have had it at 2 different stages, like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And back in the day, I probably have fonder memories. Yeah. That probably sounds disrespectful or disingenuous in a way, but I suppose we were probably talking earlier about the 13-year-old Kevin McCarthy walking over to a game.
And I was actually only just when you brought up like the older, I can remember leaving school and like getting my mom to draw me to turn. I need to get the European tickets, like, and because they sold out like in a flash, like, and there'd be a Champions League game on, and you wanted to get to it, like, because Turner's Cross used to be sold out, like, and
absolutely, it
used to be the best atmosphere you could imagine, like.
Rocking nights, like, and
the shed bouncing.
And I'd say it was probably because the European forced us to close down probably certain stands, you know what I mean? Like, like certain, they need to be seating or whatever, and like safe or whatever. What's safe? Do you know what I mean? Come on, it's just a bit of crack. Do you know what I mean? So like, we probably had certain bits closed off, so it probably made it more hyped up. Then you have to get your ticket, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it was, I suppose for me, it was probably my first exposure to the global nature of football, like, and like that's what I love. Like, I grew up playing J, and I grew up probably watching, like I watch NFL now, or, do you know what I mean? But I love football, like I absolutely love soccer, like, and I just love it because I could go on holiday to fucking Brazil and play football, or I could be in New Zealand, and although New Zealand is rugby mad, there'll still be someone playing soccer, do you know what I mean? You could join in, and we went to places that, like Lithuania, Latvia, and I probably meet Lithuanian barbers now, and I say to them, oh, like Akranis, and they're like, how do you know Akranis? You know what I mean? That's like this town out in the middle of nowhere. I think I said actually in Latvia, but like it's a tiny town in the middle of Latvia where they produce televisions. Like that was their kind of, like, it was.
They're known for that.
They're known for that, and we played them, and we were out there, and you go then and you play Prague and Sweden, and that was the early taste of it, and that was probably a massive learning curve and exposure for me, like. So that's why maybe I have fonder memories of it back in those days. But what we've achieved this past few years with Cork in Europe has been fantastic as well.
Fantastic. Some of the atmospheres abroad in like Poland and stuff. I know from speaking to Kevin O'Brien, as I mentioned to you before there, one of my buddies, he said, I think it was in Poland, he was saying, like, he said he's never seen, he's like, the fans were literally for the full 90 minutes, like, just absolutely belting it out, like,
belting it out, yeah, he's spot on.
Does it make it harder to play like away when the home fans are so loud and so vocal, or as a player do you just try to block it out? I know it would be hard to block it out, like thousands of fans screaming and shouting.
Yeah, it's you know what, there's lots of like kind of studies done on sports people, and lots of studies done on how the crowd affect people, and how, like we spoke earlier about, and you mentioned that competition for me was massive. That absolutely is my motivator. And loads of people are motivated. Some people are motivated by the process of something. So they want the most beautiful game, the most beautiful pass, and that's their motivation. My motivation is 100% getting the better of someone else. So putting myself up against somebody and just going at it, and probably football is the medium for that. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's the same with crowds and the crowd effect on people. Some people would be way more aware of that and way more conscious of that, and I'm probably not in that category. Do you know what I mean? So, and I can't, like, I enjoy the atmosphere, and I've been in places in the UK which have been very hostile. Like, if you ever play in like Luton, these kind of grounds, they're on top of you, like, and they are horrendous.
They don't say nice things about you, like,
not nice things at all. Like, there's not one, and you can see it and feel it and hear it. And in Belgrade, we played Belgrade, Red Star Belgrade, and we had a Kosovan lad playing for us, so the heat on that game was massive. He was a lad who moved here. I could actually be maybe Serbia. I know Kosovo is a different country with Serbia. His background anyway was...
The countries were kind of rivals,
Exactly. There was a lot of friction between the two countries, and that brought a lot of heat on that game. But I have to say that the crowds never really affected me in some sense, and how you can tell that on a player is if they're the exact same guy who's playing in front of 6 people at 60,000. Do you know what I'm saying? I think I'd perform the same.
Either way, like
either way.
And
either way would be about the competitor. And then that like I love all that stuff. I love reading about all that stuff and looking into all that stuff regarding players and people.
And speaking of that, are you currently gone back doing a master's in that field?
That brought me towards that.
Cool,
it's coaching, and it's, as I said, business coaching, people coaching, because I am really interested in how do people work, you know, how because you want to get the best out of a person, you know. as I said, football is just what I'm teaching.
Yeah.
But how do you get the best out of that person?
Yeah.
And is that where you see your career kind of going once you end getting into management? And
it'll definitely be part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it'll be my whole life.
Yeah,
It's such an uncertain industry.
It is. It's crazy.
It's crazy, and we spoke about that, and the scars that can leave on you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just feel like I'd love a little secure job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that I can not say to the missus that in 4 months' time, I'm not too sure we can go away, you know what I mean? Because I've no money coming in.
Yeah.
So, like, that world has kind of burnt me a little bit.
Yeah.
And in Ireland, it's very precarious. And the coaching, like, if there's, let's say, 100 Irish professional playing jobs, there's probably 10 Irish professional coaching jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
it's a lot harder to get into.
A lot harder to get into and stay in. So it will definitely be part of my life, because when I'm driving away now from an under-13 session last night, for example, raging at myself because I didn't get across what I wanted to get across. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though, and I'm still thinking about it this morning, even though they're only 13-year-olds, like, and they're just out there, and it's more me. And then I'm thinking, is that my ego, my coaching ego, that's coming out there? You know, that didn't come out. Is it annoying me because of that?
Yeah.
Or is it annoying me because the kids didn't pick it up? Or so I know that it eats at me. So I know that it's still a passion for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it'll definitely be part of my life, but whether it's the whole part, I don't know yet.
You still have some kind of aspect of it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely have it in my life.
Yeah. I suppose I have a kind of a two-part question that I want to ask. Being a centre-back, that, like, you know, you're a defender, was there someone when you were kind of starting out in the game that you kind of wanted to model your game off and you looked up to? And kind of in today's kind of modern game, is there anyone you look at and you kind of admire as a central defender?
Yeah, we actually had this chat the other day at the training ground. Like this is all footballers talk about, is other footballers.
Yeah.
And then social media, obviously, for the younger lads, or Tinder or whatever. But that's the younger boys, they can do whatever the hell they want. But, like, the boys were like, is Virgil van Dijk the best centre half in the world? I know
I would say,
you could tell the Liverpool lads in the dressing room straight away.
I'd say 100%.
Yeah, this fella never shuts up.
Like,
well, if you look at what he's done to the club, like, do you know what I mean?
But then
we were an absolute calamity last year when it came to defence.
What's Virgil van Dijk won? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, I know when we're talking about players, and this is why everyone loves chatting about players.
You could argue all day.
Go back and forth. You know, I can see you bubbling up already. I want to go back on why. It doesn't matter what he has and what it's the impact he's had. And then we're saying, is Chiellini or Godin at Atletico or Chiellini at Juve, are they the best centre halves in the world? Because you know, they've won X, Y, and Z. Like,
and you Varane as well, who's won a World Cup and the Ligas, and
do you know what I mean? So what makes a best player? And then is it in? And then someone the cop out one on current form. I think that just levels all pub arguments. Do you know what I mean? So then you're like, okay, all right, I'll give you that one. But I love watching guys who love defending. Like. I love that. And they're lads that I love watching. Growing up, I love Dennis Bergkamp. Do you know what I mean? So but then until I started playing football, and then I loved Paul McGrath. Paul McGrath. And that performance against Italy, whether it's because it's been replayed so many times over the years, it's been imprinted on my brain. But I know that at the time it would have registered with me as being huge. What he did and how he did it. So that would have been huge for me growing up. And then honestly, I know as corny as it sounds, I loved watching Decky Daly. Like, you know what I mean? I played with him. And if he was sat here, he probably wouldn't tell you he was the prettiest player either. But I loved watching him play, and I loved watching him tackle people and head the ball and do all and that's the beauty of local soccer. Like,
I was about to say there.
Because I saw him arguing with a ref, arguing with a linesman, right in front of me. The play could be up there, but I'm watching him and he's there, shouldering the centre forward in the back. Do you know what I mean? Or having an argument with his right back, and that's right in front of my eyes. Even though Pat Morley's probably chipping the keeper at the other end. I want to watch Decky Daly here. Do you know what I'm saying? So like. That for me is the magic of local football. Like,
brilliant.
I suppose we're ticking over an hour. A couple of things just before we wrapped up. I'd like to ask, just while you're talking about players and stuff, players that you've come across in your career, maybe who's the toughest opponent you've come up against, and maybe one of the best players you've played with at one of your clubs, or maybe a couple of players, you know.
Yeah.
I know when I was reading Wikipedia that just before you went to Southampton, they sold Gareth Bale and Kenwyn Jones went shortly after you got there.
He was there.
When I seen Gareth Bale, I was like matching up the dates, like, and I was like, oh fuck, I wonder was he there when Gareth Bale was there? But no,
Adam Lallana was there.
Was he?
Yeah. I know what you're saying, and I get asked this question quite a lot, right? And people really want to know who's kind of the most famous guy you played with, to an extent.
Yeah.
And when I kind of say like Kevin Doyle, they're like, oh, okay, only because I saw him day in, day out, and I probably had more conversations with him, so I was able to get into his head more and see what he was thinking more.
Yeah.
So that would have put him up there in my mind as one of the best players I played with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So then, like, I suppose, like as I said there, I would have been a passing ship with Adam Lallana.
Yeah.
I didn't really know him. Like, if Adam Lallana now, and in fact, I've played against him since, and he didn't really, we didn't really, you know what I mean? Even though we were there for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, which is fair because he's probably seen thousands of players come through. And even, like, let's say Tom Heaton, we played Burnley pre-season friendly for their pre-season last season, would have been halfway through ours. And I was captain and he was captain. We shook hands, tossed a coin, and I played with him at Wickham, and I could see it didn't register with him, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd say maybe something during the game probably twigged with him, because after the game he came up and he was like, you could see, how are you getting on? Grant? How are you getting on? Grant, you have the usual chit chat.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of talking about lads who we'd both played with, and he had been to a wedding of the guy who we'd both played with like that summer. So he was like, oh, I was at Moose's. Moose was the guy's nickname at his wedding. So he put it together during the game. Do you know what I mean? That guy down there with that bad run was the guy I played with before. Do you know what I mean? So you're just, that's why I don't like pick out those big names, because you're literally passing
through. Like,
do you know what I mean?
But as you would have been with Kevin Doyle for quite a few years, like
and I saw
in different situations.
I saw him away at Finn Harps. I saw him playing away at United. Do you know what I mean?
Like, what he did was phenomenal. Like,
he had a great career
for the career he went on to have.
Broke the molds, like older player, going to England, success. What? Do you know what I mean? He wasn't in the academy since he was 16. He's been where? He's been at St. Pat's. He's been at Cork. What club was he before that? Wexford Youths. Before that, Adamstown United, whoever his local club. So where's the influence in terms of what he's been doing? No, it's just that. Okay, Graham, we'll give you 80 grand for him. We'll see it as a workout. Do you know what I mean? So, like, broke the mold for Irish players. And that's the kind of, and then played against, like, Jermaine Defoe ripped me apart one day in the cup game for Cheltenham. So that
was that 3-0 Spurs?
That was 4-0, I'd say.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And he got a hat trick, like, so.
Like, not easy, so.
Do you know what I mean? That was probably, well, look, you know that these guys are just on a different level. To you, like. And to, like, you have to be a freak. I don't know, have you ever met, like, Roy Keane, for example, or like this guy, they're 6'2", built machines. The people in the Premier League are freaks, like athletic freaks, who are freaks of football as well. Like. So when you come down to the Championship, there's probably great athletes, not so good at football. I mean, like, not so good at football, just an unbelievable at football, obviously. Then you have unbelievable footballers who probably aren't incredible athletes. League 2, then League 1, you have again the same, but on way higher spectrum. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you have people like Akinfenwa, who's do you know
the beast,
notorious in the lower leagues. Like, I would have had time with him at Wimbledon, and you couldn't even see the ball around him. Like, how's the football like? And he's still doing it now. And like, they're just like, we could talk all day about players. I could talk all day about players and different people at different times, and that's probably where you're fortunate at seeing them up close, you know.
what I found interesting here is where you're talking about how good these people are at Premier League level, and then you have us average Joes watching them on a Saturday, and I'd be slating a Liverpool player, saying he's shit, like get him, he has to be sold, and he's obviously not. Like he's one of the best players. Like he's a top quality player.
Yeah, there's levels to it. Like
there is.
We play on a 7-a-side team on a Thursday night, like and we're in Division 1 in whatever this thing is in it, and we'd have 1 or 2 wins, like, and we're like, geez, we can kick a ball, like, you know, we can play a bit. And then we came up against the crowd. Then I think our third week in, hockey does 10-0, and we're just
back
like,
down 13, like,
Christ. And then these boys, like, you know, if they come up against League of Ireland players, they're going to be 10-20-0, like, you know what I mean? Like, so that humbled us, sorry, to be fair. Like.
I suppose one more question before we do kind of wrap up is, like, you know, you would have started out your career in your early 20s, as you said. Did you see the game evolve a lot? So, like, you know, as a centre back, you could have been a lot tougher back then.
Yeah.
There was kind of, you know, they always say the old fashioned centre back, go in hard. That was it. And nowadays, you see players rolling around the pitch if they get touched. Or, like, did you see that happen? And how did you have to adapt your own game then when that does happen? Like, as a centre back, like, because you're trying to pull fellas.
Yeah. That's a fair enough question. Yeah, the game has definitely evolved, both in Ireland, in the lower leagues in England. It was funny, man. It was probably a blueprint that I fitted quite well, because it was like the League of Ireland in a sense, where you went over there and it was one big striker, one small striker every week. Yeah. And inevitably they'd hit the big striker, he'd flick it on, the small striker would get in. Like, you would have been surprised how often that happened. Like, and it would have been 4-4-2. They would have been the majority of teams. You would have had some clubs who did things differently. Brighton, when they were in the lower leagues, Crewe, when they were in the lower leagues, would have had a different mandate towards their players, and they would have been football, and you would have known coming up against them, give them a few kicks and they'll be all right. It'll be done. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, it fitted me in that sense. But now back in Ireland, everyone's 4-3-3, and I suppose the point I'm making is that it's changed a lot in terms of the coaching. The coaching now, and even, like, I don't know, obviously, how Pep Guardiola coaches his teams, but I'd have a guess at that it's very fluid between all sorts of tactical shapes, all sorts of technical requirements from his players. One, because they can do it, and two, because he can coach it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So that's obviously the peak. Like, we went to Manchester on pre-season, the start of, so we're in 19 now, maybe the start of 18 maybe, yeah. And we played Man City, I'd say it was their under-19s, but they were probably 16-year-olds, like. Yeah. And they were phenomenal. Go ahead. Like, phenomenal. Like, I asked Lisa, who was doing our analysis at the time for that game, because I wanted to see all the stuff they were doing. Like, it was ridiculous. So, like, that has definitely evolved, and but in our league as well, that has definitely evolved, and more to it, like, because the rigid structure now of that 4-4-2, which would have been in the League of Ireland before I left, and in the lower leagues when I went over. I'm not saying anything against the 4-4-2 system. I'm just saying that rigid structure has like changed, like, and more power to it, because you can't run through a season now, I don't think, just being the same, because you'll get found out or people will start to pick it off maybe. And that's a challenge for coaches, and that's a challenge for players, to put yourself outside that comfort zone. Like, I see now centre halves, you asked me about centre halves in particular, I see that becoming, like, you have that kind of defensive midfielder. I could talk tactics here and all day and move cups around. Like, you see that defensive midfielder who used to be like the quarterback. Now that's the centre back, you know what I mean? So the centre backs now have to be able to do that. And that would have been something that I wouldn't have been comfortable with, I suppose. And I've seen the kind of game change. But then, in a sense, I've probably been clever enough that I don't try and hit those quarterback passes. And if the manager wants me to do it, I'll maybe get somebody else to do it. And simplify my game, because there will always be a place for someone who keeps the game simple. And someone who's willing to do, like McTominay.
Scott McTominay,
that side of the game.
He was brilliant actually the other night.
There will always be a place for that in whatever game you are and whatever level you are. And that's how I kind of justified my position, I suppose, over the years, when the game changes so much.
There you go, no Kev, the
Yeah.
Rosie will place for you and our
Is that your role? Is it?
CD invite.
See, I'm getting praise here now. Yeah.
There you go, boy.
Once you know what you are and accept what you are.
Exactly,
the
that's
main
all I
thing.
ever do. Just play it simple, pass the ball, don't try anything fancy. Just give it to him.
Perfect.
So I'd say we're over time now.
Yeah, I think that was brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah.
Very insightful.
Thanks for
Yeah,
taking
no worries at all, boys.
Thanks
As
for
I
taking
said,
the
I
time,
talk
yeah.
football all day long.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
we'll have to have you back
Yeah.
on at some stage anyway.
Yeah, there's no problem,
There's so much to talk
End
about.
of the season after lifting a few trophies.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
that'd be
yeah.
nice. That'd be
Fingers
nice.
crossed.
Sound, boys. I really appreciate it. I'm
Thanks.
a fan now. I've listened to a few since
Brilliant.
you got on to me, so it's really good.
Thanks.
Really good stuff. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
I like the way you cover a huge spectrum, like you spoke about earlier, of guests and people, which keeps it interesting in my mind. Yeah.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Thanks very much.
Alan,
And we just want to wish you the best of luck for the rest of the season.
Sound, boys.
And hopefully Cork City will be lifting a trophy.
Yeah.
That sounds
And
good,
any
yeah.
future endeavours beyond that, coaching, business
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah,
whatever
appreciate
is.
it.
Perfect. Brilliant. Thanks
Cheers,
very
Alan.
much.
Cool, boys.
Thanks, boy. Cheers.
Sound, Kev.
That was brilliant.
No
Very
worries.
good.
Hope-
Thanks, Alan.